Hello and welcome to another Warno match, today with Princess Evelyn against Wombat, also known as MiG-29S. And it's gonna be a really interesting matchup because this is the very last game of the group stage and it's a deciding game. For Princess Evelyn, a tie would be enough to get into the playoffs, while MiG-29S would get the spot instead if he wins both maps. So I assume both players will be very stressed out and it will be very hard for them in this kind of important match. But yeah, they will be fighting for the last playoff spot. So it will be nice to see how they can deal with such pressure. If we take a look at the Pick&Ban tool first, we can see Princess Evelyn decided to take Black Forest as the first map with 90s Moto against, on the other side for MiG-29S, or also known as Wombat, the 35-yard OG. While the second map will be Airport with 8th Infantry, which was countered by Princess Evelyn with 27-yard. In the deck for 90s Moto by Princess Evelyn, we can see in the Logistic tab 3 cards for supplies, 1 leader. Then Infantry tab, we can see a leader that comes in a helicopter, as well as Concourse and helicopters, and a Special Forces squad with 10 men that comes in helicopter as well. So a lot of helicopter action going on here. And we see the infantry units with BVPs, the BVP-2 that comes with a 20 penetration Concourse missiles, and some normal reservist infantry units together with some non-veterancy engineers, one with explosive, one with flamethrower. While on the artillery tab we can see rocket launcher, 2 cuts of Danas and a Pram, all without veterancy. While on the tank tab we can see command tank the T-72. It's a variation that has no rockets in this division. Leader also, no rocket. We can see 1 card without veterancy, so probably these will be bought first and then later the non-veterancy units. T-55 as cheap addition to those forces, and some Concourse. In the Recon tab we can see also in helicopters some Special Forces scout units with 6 men in the squad. No veterancy on the normal scouts that come in the BVP-1. And we can see some Special Forces Recon that have the GSR radio was what I wanted to mention. And this unit, this card comes in the UART's normal transport vehicle, not in the helicopter. And in the OT, 1 more scout with just 4 men to have some cheap scouts as well. AA tab, Coupe, 30mm, and Eagles that also come in helicopters, so a lot of helicopters in this division and in this deck. Some more helicopters that can fight, as the AT helicopter, the Me-2 Europe, and the rocket Me-17. And in the air tab we can see 2 cards, 6 planes in total, 6 MiGs that protect the skies and protect the helicopter transports, and 1 Su-25K for rockets. And 35 yard for Wombat we can see 2 cards of supplies and 2 command units. While in the infantry tab we can see the specialty of this division with a lot of airborne infantry units that can be deployed very far forward. We can see Spetsnaz Special Forces as well. And I can see no leader, so that's interesting. So no command unit in the infantry tab for Wombat. And we can see this Janiki RPG-7 infantry squad with helicopter. So also some helicopter deployed infantry units for this side. Artillery tab, 3 cards, Nona, Vasilek, and the Gret rocket launcher. Tank tab is very small in this division, that's to be expected. Some Concourse to have some ATGM against the tanks on the other side. We can see some Razvedka and the Spetsnaz Gru, that are the Special Forces with shock, airborne, and the GSR radio. AA tab, we can see the Eagler that are airborne as well, same as the GUTS 66, Zu-23-2. And Strela without airborne, obviously. Helicopter tab, very big. Specialty for this division, the KA-50 Akula. And we also have the AT variation. So this matchup has a lot of helicopters. The other side more transport, and this side more combat helicopters. And in the air we can see a seed plane, two MiG-29 AA planes, rocket plane, and the LGB bomber. Very interesting to note, if I haven't missed it, it's really just these two cards of leaders for Wombat, so 5 leaders in total. Usually you have more like 7 leaders, so that's interesting that he doesn't invest much into that, and probably wants to win quickly with his sorry, with his airborne units instead of winning by dragging out the match and getting the points. So that will be interesting to see if it works out or if that will become a problem later. On our first map, Black Forest, we can see Wombat in blue on the left side with his 35 year, and on the right side, PrincessEvelyn with the 19 Moto. If we check the deployment, we can see a lot of units in the south for Wombat that are spreading out from the south. I like that he has the movement command through the zone here, because I've seen it multiple times that the CV went around the zone instead of going through. It's interesting to see, has he a second CV? It's just this one, right? So he doesn't try to take Fedor, just send some units there. Oh, never mind, there's a second CV that will not going to the zone first, but near the zone, and then check if he can get into the zone, while you can see another CV that will be heading to the north. I'm not sure if that's not a bit too few units to take the zone, was my thought. But I had to pause to check if I'm actually correct. I mean, it's not that many units, but he has the airborne division, so maybe the opponent will not contest the northern zone. But since he has the more aggressive airborne division, he can allow himself to go forward a bit more, and that's why he is in center. Well, the zone is not called center. Center is up north, Boris, but in the center, the zone, he is pretty far forward and will try to contest the zone as well. But he has his forces quite spread out, so maybe that will become an issue. Let's check where PrincessEvelyn will send the units so that we can see if this positioning will get countered, but so far it's multiple units in a fast moving command instead of deploying. So we have to check later if those units will get deployed. And here we can see the helicopter deployed units. Also the Igla. They're actually going to Dimitri. So despite having the helicopters for the speed advantage, it's a very defensive positioning for these units. We can see a lot of AA, which makes sense with the helicopter on the other side with 35 yard. Coup as well, Pram for the artillery support, which is a rather interesting unit. It also has the anti-tank missile and the heavy machine gun. Quite nice support. Not that many infantry units yet. It's interesting that everything is on a fast movement command instead of, well, it's unloading afterwards. But you can send with a unloading command and it will have the fast movement over the roads. Let's check the AA on the other side. I wasn't really checking that before. In the north we don't really have any AA coverage, while in the south there's this one ZU, and that's it. So very, very light on the AA for Wombat. That might be interesting to see if that will bite him in the ass later, or if he has an AA plane coming in. But yeah, so much for the deployment. How about we start our first match now between Wombat and PrincessEvelyn for the last playoff spot in Division 4. Let's go! Got a bit confused during my introduction of the deployment, because the first deck that I talked about was the deck that is now on the right side, while the player that I introduced first was the second deck that I talked about. So it was a bit that I had to take some breaks to think about, okay, which deck was it? Was it the one with the airborne units, or was it the one with the helicopter transport? But yeah, I hope I did a good enough job to really capture the specialty of both sides, and that we have the helicopter transport division on the right side, while the airborne forces with a lot of attack helicopters are on the left side now. And we can see the first zone being captured. As expected, airborne forces are further forward, so they have the advantage. One of the conquerors actually moves over the north all the way to the back to try and hit the reinforcement road later. But that will take a while for him to go all that way. First board units, T-55 and a BVP-2 with an infantry unit for the south. So maybe that will be where PrincessEvelyn will contest the zones of his opponent. CV not going into the zone despite the units moving in already. That's for a division that is pretty aggressive and a player that does position himself relatively aggressive in all other locations. It's interesting that he's so defensive and careful with his CV on this location. And PrincessEvelyn on the other side, relatively defensive, of course. Has to check first how many units on what location before moving in. Deploys outside of the zone. And we are likely to see the first battles in a moment. You can see the first board units from the blue side from Wombat are the Streller AA. So he was aware that he was lacking AA and is now sending more to protect himself from planes and helicopters. One of the AA guns, the 30mm, goes down to the ATGM of the Concourse. The Me to Europe tries to counter, but didn't get the kill. We are still in the replays that have the bug that you can't see the kill feed, which is really annoying for casting, because when a unit dies, I'd always check to see which unit was it, what's the name of the unit. And if a tank dies and I don't see the name, I'm like, shit, which tank was it? So yeah, we still have to deal with that, but hopefully it will get fixed soon. I think it's fixed in the newest version. Helicopter goes down, got too close to the Zu-23. The Concourse got hit by the infantry units. Can make it out alive apparently, at least for now. Has one missile left. And now the 30mm grenade launcher is under fire, and the OP Spetsnaz. Well, they did quite a lot of damage already. Infantry units stressed out as well, while the special forces units only started to get a bit stressed. But it has not as many hit points, so it has to leave now. A little bit of skirmish in the south. I'm not sure what that plane is hunting. Sending an AA plane over the units of your opponent when you don't know how much AA he already has is a bit dangerous. Maybe he tried to get a helicopter, but I didn't see it. Spetsnaz under fire by the tank. It's well, it has just an RPO actually, not a rocket launcher, so it can't fire back. And the tank just keeps firing. The OP Spetsnaz, the one with the anti-rocket launcher, anti-tank rocket launcher, is a bit too far away. And the zone now got captured. The bigger pressure in this map is on Wombat. If he loses this map, he's already out of the playoff hopes. So he has to win both maps, while PrincessEvelyn can take it a bit easier. PrincessEvelyn has only to win one map to make it to the playoffs. A tie is enough, but well, you obviously want to win the first map and not make it more exciting and more stressful by delaying the decision to the second map. So far, +2 for the airborne division. Nothing really too special. This map doesn't have as many points for the zone, so it's difficult to get back into the points, but still not that much. Only 300 points so far. In the north, we can see a second CV. I'm not sure what's up with that. Maybe he forgot he had this one CV over here and bought the other CV before realizing he has one and sent it in. But I wasn't paying attention to that, to be honest. The Me Supply helicopter goes pretty close to the forces of his opponent. I understand that he wants to supply these infantry units, but that could be dangerous still. The leader tank was destroyed by the OP Spetsnaz, I would assume. So not that many units for the red side in the zone. There will be a bit of support maybe from the south, if those units are positioned in a way that they can shoot at units in the center. The T-55 now arrived to give some firing support. But BMD-2 can shoot back. Concourse, if it gets an angle, would be in range as well. But so far, nothing happened. We can see some reservists. Is that the reservists? No, those are the special forces, actually. The opposite. No, I think the reservists were on the other side. And 90s Moto. Forgot. Will likely get the kill. It's IFV goes down. The airborne division obviously has a lot of ATGMs, is more in a defensive position after getting the early advantage with the capture of more zones. The division wants to stay in the forest with the ATGMs, and any unit that moves forward will get destroyed by them. That is the plan. And so far it seems to be working out that PrincessEvelyn doesn't have enough forces to really push forward. But obviously the other side wants to build up a big blob and then attack with an amount of forces that can overwhelm the ATGM defense forces. The SHPZ is still in transport. It's now going out. So I think that's something PrincessEvelyn could improve on, that the units are immediately sent with an unload command, so that you don't have to micro them twice, and that the transports just stand around, fire while the infantry units are doing nothing and are in danger of getting killed together with the transport without being able to fight themselves. Over here we also again have a transport not unloading. So either with shift command like you did in the start, or immediately with an unload command, so that you don't have to manually unload all of these infantry units from their transport units. Almost 600 points by now. It might get into an area where it will get dangerous, but well, over 30 minutes left. ATGM goes down, so there's still a lot of time for PrincessEvelyn to take back zones. And Wombat is pushed back. More ground taken by PrincessEvelyn, so it might be getting to a point where PrincessEvelyn can push further and further. The IFB goes down to the concourse before the rocket can hit the concourse. Infantry unit goes through almost open field. We don't see that many attack helicopters yet. There's the first Akula. I think the previous helicopter was one of the Me too. And in the south, nothing special going on. More ATGMs. More ATGMs. More ATGMs on infantry. Akula has quite the long range, as you can see, so it will be able to support from behind the Strela and the Ikla. So in an A-plane coming in would be in danger, and any ground AA unit would get attacked by the units that are already on the ground. So very difficult position to really challenge that attack helicopter. Well, same on the other side, helicopter from here can clean up the building. SHPZ still inside the transport. So that's maybe the biggest mistake so far from PrincessEvelyn. Do not unload infantry units immediately. Helicopter goes down to the Igla now. And the transport helicopter flies directly into that AA that you just spotted. So a bit too dangerous in the deployment now. And it's just a landing command, not the unloading command as well. To continue my rant about the lack of unloading the infantry units. And helicopter was destroyed before the infantry unit could unload or the helicopter land. The Spetsnaz group probably can even see this transport, so let's take a look at what the blue side can see. And yeah, they can actually see the SPHPC transport flying away. So this is the vision of Wombat. And let's check the vision of PrincessEvelyn. We can see PrincessEvelyn can't see as much. One transport, not transport, supply truck. Some units that are standing in open field. And the Strela. But aside from that, completely blind about all of these units. So despite so many units being on the battlefield, both players can see very little. Most of the units that can be seen are the ones in open field. So a bit of a dangerous positioning. Maybe that Conquest should be in the forest. I'm not sure if it has to do with an angle in the view line or with the range that you wanted the Conquest so far forward. Spetsnaz now in a dangerous location for getting deployed, but tough luck. But I like the use of infantry now. When we have so many defensive units, we might be able to find some easy pickoffs. The Me rocket helicopters could get supplied and move forward maybe a bit. But we have a lot of damaged units now on the red side, so at the moment there are a lot of units that could use supplies. 2 supply trucks on the way. The artillery reloading. You can see some LPO engineer infantry squads and the T-72 Me or M1. But yeah, it feels like if you look at the damage on these units, it will be very hard for PrincessEvelyn to push forward. And the points are at almost 1000 now, so not that easy to play against the strong airborne division and their early pressure, and then the defensive ATGM wall that you have to push into. Maybe smokes could help. I'm constantly forgetting to use smoke myself, so I don't blame anyone that does it, or that doesn't do it, rather. Rocket plane not getting the kill, but a lot of damage and stress, and able to make it out alive. But yeah, against ATGM walls, it might be helpful to use smoke. And well, could also try planes, but you have to check the AA forces. Maybe with an artillery, try to take them out for a big attack from the skies. But that always depends on the situation and the map, so that's harder to say. If it will work, would work. Me-24B, rocket helicopter, giving some support while the transport rocket helicopter deploys some more infantry units. A bunch of more infantry units, actually. So at the moment it feels like PrincessEvelyn is just throwing units at the defensive positioning of Wombat, and it did work out for a moment, but now there's this concave and there's just no answer to it. There aren't enough units in the south to contest this zone. There was a bit of a cleanup, but there are a lot less blue units now in the forest and in this area. But no CV here yet, no units to really secure the zone. And even if you take a corner of the zone, because there's a BMD leader already in the area, so you might not be able to capture the zone, even with smoke play. But it was just, even if you capture the zone, it would just stop the tick. You would still have to take a second zone to get a point tick yourself. So it's a really tough position. Oh, another transport that is not on the tour. Oh, my heart bleeds. Now that I started to focus on it, it's like it just flies into my eyes and it hurts. Transport getting killed. Supply truck. I don't know why I want to constantly call supply trucks transport trucks. Look similar, I guess. And yeah, a bit of a stalemate, but with a 1,200 points and a +2 tick for Wombat, it looks like he's in for a good time at the moment. Double leader still in this corner, pretty much out in the open. It's a dangerous positioning, that's what I wanted to say, especially with 2 leaders. And that's the division that had only 5 leaders in total, so if you lose 2, by positioning them in open field where the artillery can just pick them off if a scout was to see them. It doesn't, but if it would see them, that would be a big loss for the longer game, if it should get to a longer game. At the moment, I'm not sure. At the moment, it looks like Wombat will be able to hold on, but maybe he runs out of units or supplies at some point, and the T-72s then can push forward. But we don't see that many T-72s yet. The one over here was damaged and not repaired yet. The supply truck is empty. And we can see a bunch of infantry unit, a leader tank, so maybe this will be the big push coming in, 2 coups. It also looks like there were a bit of points stacked up for PrincessEvelyn. Not a lot of units got bought at the same time. On the other side, more infantry units, scout, and helicopter as well. OP Spetsnaz, Afghanistan. That special forces? Yes, special forces, resolute, mountaineers. And, well, the airborne trait doesn't matter anymore. But technically, they also have still that. The special forces for PrincessEvelyn still in the forest over here. Maybe the Spetsnaz will be able to handle that with an incendiary rocket launcher. Not much planes used by either side. So even though there was a bit of helicopter play, not really much airplay in general. And now it will be interesting to see if this big blob of units from the red side will push forward. Or what will he do with this heavy investment now? And it feels a bit like 1,400 points on this map, where you have to take probably 3 zones at this point to get back this point lead. That will be a tough challenge, so PrincessEvelyn has to pretty much kill all of these units. It's looking grim, and a hit on the T-72, stressing it out and making it combat inefficient, doesn't help. So these infantry units have to push forward without much support. The IVs could support the T-72 leader, but the clumped up infantry units getting fired at by the helicopter, getting stressed out, getting killed. 2 of them already, well, 1 of them already dead, second one dying now. Third one has to retreat into the building. The Igla can help out with the helicopter, but it's a bit late now. The coup getting caught by the Conquerors was a bit too far forward. Helicopter goes down to the Igla, but not enough. That's not enough and a bit too late. After the helicopter got so much damage done. And you just have this clumped up group of units directly in front of a defensive position. You can't really move around. I don't see how this will work out. Artillery coming in. Artillery may be an idea that you just invest a lot more into artillery to soften up the defensive position, but it's a bit too late now, I feel like. Because if the points would be lower and the tick stopped, then maybe yes, artillery could still matter. But now, in this situation, the ATGM is now raining down on all of these forces from multiple angles. It looks more like it will be a slaughter and then a GG. That's my professional estimate of the situation. T-72 gets it. T-72 leader still alive from the back. Smoke popped to protect the side. IFVs getting destroyed. Infantry units getting murdered. And there just seems to be more blue units and in better positions. Maybe an option would have been to clear this area first, so that you don't get shot from multiple angles. But there's a GG, as expected now. No way to come back from this many point deficit. Almost 1,600 points. Kill ratio also on the side of Wombat, 1.72 to 1. Very interesting, very convincing match for Mick, who is now one step closer to making it into the playoffs. So the next map will actually decide which of these two players will make it into the playoffs for their group. And that will be a very stressful situation. If we look at the kill feed, we can see the special forces. Got a lot of kills. Not that many other units apart from the T-72 with many kills. While on the other side, infantry unit got a transport with an infantry unit maybe. The Concourse got a bunch of kills. The Eagler actually did very well. It got 2 transport helicopters with the Eaglers inside. And the Elite Recon was also destroyed in transport, and Concourse also 4 units with transport. So yeah, maybe that was the issue of PrincessEvelyn not immediately unloading the units while sending the helicopter into the battlefield. But it might also be that the deployment was too far forward. We have seen that at least once. So that the Eagler was able to destroy the transport before it managed to land. So yeah, it will be very interesting to see what they do next and how the next map airport will play out. But before we start with the deployment, let's take a look at the divisions. First we have the 27-year by PrincessEvelyn, which is, contrary to the 2 divisions on the last map, a tank division with the T-80s. In the logistic tab, to start off with those, we can see 3 cuts of supplies and 1 command unit. We can see in the infantry tab just some BMP transport with the normal infantry units, no special forces or any very significant units, just overall pretty good, but nothing outstanding. Artillery tab, we can see the Acacia, the Nona, the 120mm mortar, and the Grad rocket launcher. We can see the Nona actually with veterancy as well. And in the tank tab, the important part, 2 cards of T-80 BVK, the leader tanks, one actually with double veterancy. So that one will probably be the first one to get deployed and is meant to take part in the battles. It has 1 additional health point and a 90 pen gun, 17 frontal armor, 7 on the sides. So that will be a beast in the battlefield. While the T-80 BV variation of the tank has the Cobra 90 pen 2625 meter range rocket. So that will also be very interesting to see how PrincessEvelyn will be able to use this advantage in range with these rockets on the tanks. We have also the Sprout, anti-tank gun, and some Concourse again. While in the weekend tab we can see 1B scouting helicopter, we can see the Zaperi scouts, So with the satchel charges and 8 men, these are more like fighting recons, which come in the Me-2T helicopter, while the other infantry scout units come in BMP and the KPV. That's just with a heavy machine gun on the truck. And AA, we can see Tunguska, Tor, 2 cuts of E-Class, one with double veterancy, helicopter, AT helicopters and rocket helicopters, and a relatively light air tap with just 1 cut of MiG-29 AA planes. They have pretty good rockets, but that's obviously not as much as a lot of other divisions have on the air tap, and the T-8M for some air-to-ground missiles. Well, it also has some air-to-air missiles, but obviously not an AA plane first and foremost. And let's continue by checking the Division 8th Infantry for Wombat. In the Logistic tab, we can see once again 8 supply trucks, 1 CV. Infantry tab, the more important part for this division, with a Mac Rifles leader. That's pretty important. The MP patrol, the MP unit to boost up all units in the area. It comes with a Humvee MP as well, so you have basically a second unit with MP trait. You have the Mac Rifles Dragon with the long-range 80-pen anti-tank missile. 3 cards of it actually, one with a M35, while one with a M113. So 2 with a light transport and 1 with a battle transport, basically. An engineer with a shock trait engineer Dragon. Like, that's an engineer that doesn't have a flamethrower or satchel charges, but an anti-tank missile and the shock trait. The TOW 2, obviously, as an ATGM unit. Artillery 2 M110s A2 and the mortar unit. Tank tab, ATGM, the CEV as a heavy HE gun tank. You can see the cheap M60A3s, and then the most important part in the tank tab, M1 Abrams and M1 A1s. And interesting to note, there are no leader tanks and just one Mag Rifle leader. So together with the 3 MUD CPs, we have again only 5 leaders for Wombat. So maybe he prefers to play that way and use more cards for fighting units. But that's always a dangerous situation where you might run out of CV units in a longer battles. In the recon tab we can see the Kara Warrior, very important. The Bradleys, also very important. We have some sheep infantry units that come on the scouting truck or Humvee. And the LRS, the Special Forces, Airborne, Shock and GSR Radio forces with 6 men. That will be very likely to get deployed immediately at the start of the batch. AA tab, we have Stingers with 1 veterancy, pivots. That can also be very efficient for infantry support. And the iHawks. Helicopter tab, just the Hawk helicopter, no tow Cobra. And in the air tab, you can see the F-16C AA plane. We have the F-111F LGB bomber and the Wild Weasel seed plane. I think in the last match we didn't see the seed plane. I don't remember which of the players had one, but I don't think it was ever used. So maybe this time we will see some action with the seed plane against the AA of his opponent. So yeah, those were the 2 divisions for the next map. Let's head into the battle and see how those 2 divisions got deployed on the map Airport. Once more, we can see on the left side Wombat in blue with his 9th Infantry, while on the right side in red PrincessEvelyn with the 27 Yar. If we take a look at the deployment, we can see 2 scouting units going up north for Wombat, while we have some units for the center location. The LRS going pretty far forward, and this was even more. So that's usually the corner where the red side can attack and put some pressure on, so that will be interesting to see if it's too far forward. Bradley moving into the open and actually to give firing support in this direction. So that will be interesting to see if that works out. That's not too aggressive, but it will be interesting to see as well. But this is fine. One more scout over here. That's also pretty solid deployment overall. The AA units for the north, one Stinger, one Pivot. Pivot, as mentioned, can also give support for the units, for the infantry units, or against infantry units. And we can see only one CV as far as I've seen for the blue side. So a bit passive and reluctant in this department. In the tower, as usual, an ATGM unit. iHawk is moved to over here, so pretty much in the center of all of the action. That can take care of any infantry units moving through. And some more infantry units. So pretty much spread out for Wombat again, which can be an issue if the opponent really puts a focus on one location and has way more points in units in that one location, while you can't really make use of just a few units everywhere spread out over a large field. So we'll have to see if that will become an issue or if that will allow to protect all locations no matter where PrincessEvelyn will push. If we take a look at where the push will come, if there's a push, I actually don't know yet. But yeah, we can see helicopters. Okay, so helicopters are sent to the zone. They are unloading. It's a scouting shock unit with satchel charges. So they can be very effective in the close quarter combats. You can see one infantry unit actually moving with a BMP-3 over here to the north to protect this zone. But no CV for the north yet. One T-80 BV actually on a fast moving command straight to the zone. That should be, I'm not sure again how was that called, the hunt command. There's one command where you can send the unit moving over the roads, but it will stop when it sees an opponent, so that it doesn't keep moving if there's an infantry unit, for example, and the infantry unit can shoot it in the side, so that it stops and attacks from distance. And we can see the BTL leader actually moving also to this zone. So it's the only leader, and it goes to the zone that technically belongs to the blue side, but can be contested and fought over. But at least in theory, we have these two zones, Boris and Paul, are for the red side, Anna and Emma for the blue side, as you can see. And usually the two center zones are split, that Fedor is taken by the red side and Elena taken by the blue side. But at least in my experience, Elena is the zone that gets mostly fought over, because the red side can make it to this corner pretty quickly. So depending on who has what kind of division, or obviously airborne divisions are further forward and it can all change. But this is usually the area where the fighting takes place. Sometimes people put more pressure on Fedor. Some infantry divisions want to fight more in the south, in the city. But yeah, it's interesting that the only CV goes straight to a zone that is for his opponent. Not even, well, it does make a trip through the zone in the south, since the 2-point zone would be important. And we have some infantry units also for that location. So there are no units absolutely in this area. So that can become an issue if Wombat notices this lack of units in the south and pushes forward over here. And there's also not that much in the north. So it will all depend on if that push in the center can work out for PrincessEvelyn, or if Wombat can make the use of its spread out units to push in the other locations. So just as a reminder, this map will decide which of these two players will make it into the playoffs. So they are probably stressed out quite a bit and might not play to their best. I know, at least in my own experience, that you might make silly mistakes if you're stressed and tense. But different people can deal with it differently. Some needs the pressure to perform even better. So let's see which of these two players can deal with the stress better and make it into the playoffs. The helicopter finds the LRS, but is so close that they can shoot back. The Bradley can also fire. But Bradley gets dressed and routed. Second Bradley also under fire. So no units killed yet, but an early lead for the red side, I would say. It makes the push in the center much more likely. LRS actually going down now as well. And the second LRS not retreating, is still under fire by the helicopter. And the rocket from the south suddenly coming in and ruining all hopes for that helicopter. That was like a punch in the face just now. Bam! And again, helicopter just disappeared. But yeah, LRS has to retreat. Is damaged quite a bit. New attack helicopter coming in. There was another helicopter going down. But I think it was a light transport helicopter. Not one of the heavy attack helicopters. The CV of Wombat not moving, so despite PrincessEvelyn not really capturing many zones, just having one CV on the battlefield, the blue side isn't taking advantage of it, not going into the south, not taking, well, I mean, the zone is not really for the blue side, but not even trying to contest the zone from the start, so pretty much giving up a lot of points for the red side. And that is Matsi Pearson at least moving to this zone. It's a bit of a disaster. And if you have the LRS with GSR radio in this location, you see no units from your opponent, you should start to move something forward and realize there's absolutely no defense. I think that's just such a waste that you can't make or can't take advantage of this hole in the defense. And so far, things working out pretty well for PrincessEvelyn, I would say. The CV making it into the zone in the north, and then to the back zone. The M150A1 actually going all the way through the north. I think that's almost identically to what he did on the previous map with the Concourse in the north, going all around to threaten the supply roads. But actually didn't check if that Concourse managed to get any kills in the north, or well, in the back of PrincessEvelyn. BMP3 got a shot off with the rockets against the scout, but no kill because of the smoke, obviously. And transport helicopter once again not unloading from what I've seen, just landing and just flying low. Now that I started to pay attention to it, it just it makes me all tingly. Cavalry warrior behind the hawk. So the cavalry warrior can spot as a scout and has some rockets as well against all vehicles. So together with the fog can do quite a bit of damage until the MiG-29 will ruin their day. PrincessEvelyn on a +2 at the moment, so can stay defensive, doesn't have to rush things. Hawk goes down, cavalry warrior, well, is protected by the F-16C, and the F-16 actually gets a kill. So now a bit of a better position in the skies for the red side, for the blue side, but there are still helicopters for the red side that deal a lot of damage. Concourse in this location is very dangerous, makes it difficult to advance. Another transport not unloading. Whew. Oh, I have to be strong. I have to. I hope they understand that it's all in good fun. I'm not a better player, so it's understandable. It feels very relatable to make such mistakes. So I don't mean it in a bad way. I don't want to make fun of the players. I hope they know it. Make rifles under fire, but together with the IFV as support, might not get killed, but they are pretty low on HP yet. So I have to see if they will fall back in time. But now with the Me helicopter coming in, nothing they can do. We see the first artillery, one of the Acacia, shooting at the infantry units in the town. The Moto had to retreat, or did retreat from the tower. Maybe it didn't have to, but wanted to play safe. Hawk in the middle of the city, while the first RS over here gets damaged by the UARTs. So now Wombat will probably feel like they are defensive units and believe that they are more than they actually are. Moto will not go to the tower, but to the building the LRS is already in. This ATGM is really annoying. It can shoot down here, it can shoot at the town, it can shoot to north and north. So that's a very important area. The tower is also very dangerous, so they can see in all directions. So it might even be better than this part of the building. But artillery might shoot at the tower first, so might be safer to be in one of the buildings around it. Another shell from the artillery coming in. Tries to get the Hawk, gets one hit in. Hawk almost down. Third shot misses, and fourth shot misses, fifth shot, and no, another shell, and another shell, and another shell. All missing. So unlucky. How many shells was it? There was 2 Acacias, and they have a really just a rate of, no wait, silver length 4, so it was 8 shells in total. I was surprised how many shells there actually were, because I thought it was just a 3 or 4 shell volley, but there were 2 of them, so it was a bit more. But 8 shells not getting the kill, that's kind of embarrassing. Just saying. The helicopter should fall back now that the Stinger started to shoot at it, but PrincessEvelyn might be looking at a different location. Now the helicopter was hit, and that was enough for PrincessEvelyn to notice. Helicopter can get repaired eventually. Artillery in action again. Tries to get the Moto now. That is falling back. Oh, one is shooting over here, but units were before. And I guess that was the attack command for later. So not much going on at the moment, apart from the +2 tick for the red side. Almost 500 points now. BTL leader just standing around on the north. Might be a good idea, if we have the time, and PrincessEvelyn has the time, to move the artillery closer to the battlefield and put the leader next to them, so that the shells don't have to travel as far, and the leader gives a upwetting buff. And you shouldn't have your artillery this close together. And also one tip, not to put your artillery on the reinforcement roads, so that if there's some counter battery, that moving by reinforcement units don't get hit as well. But not enough shells from your artillery from the blue side, so the Acacia were not destroyed. Just stress out a bit. And I think that Wombat wasn't able to really take advantage of all these units he had in the south, while the red zone was completely almost unprotected. That's probably the biggest mistake. Obviously he doesn't know how few units there were, but that's what you have to figure out somehow. If you can see a lot of units in the center and you can't deal with it, and you have a lot of units just standing around in the south, that might be a reason to push forward to check if the investment wasn't in the center. I understand that in Division 4 people can't really count all the points together to know during the match how much investment there was in this area and how much there was left for the south, for example. But that's something, as you continue to play, you will eventually be able to figure out, I assume. I would hope, if you play enough. Pivots under fire by the artillery, get stunned, but the shells not accurate enough to really threaten any unit at the moment. I take it that the scouts weren't close enough to really give this corrected shot buff for artillery. I'm not sure that's what's the correct name, but within these white circles, the artillery is more accurate for the player of that scout unit. Which I really love in this game, that you have this kind of combat arms gameplay where the units give buffs to each other and support each other and are needed, and that you can't just do a command and conquer style tank rush where the tanks can destroy everything and the infantry units have no chance against it, basically. But the fog of war helps that you need the scouts and that you need the helicopters and get the heavy tanks when you're a light division, you need the planes and so on. When I when I started the deployment, I opened up the names with the tags that are usually closed during the match, and I forgot about it. So I guess now I leave it open instead of having it closed as usual, because I have the names up top in very big, so not really needed. But it's not really that disturbing either, so who cares? I just noticed it, so I had to mention it. We're just having a good time here. Who doesn't have a good time is Wombat, because he is almost 800 points behind now. He tries to push in the south, he tries to push in the center. I think the south would be more important because that's a +2 zone, while in the center, if we can make it visible, it's a +1 zone, Elena. So if he could get a push done in the south, it would be not just stopping the tick, but getting a +2 tick for himself. So the +2 zone would be more important to push than to invest also in the center. And if you split your units, you might get neither zone, so that's pretty dangerous. HB Bomber goes for the infantry units, and oh, wow, got 4 infantry units at once, I think, and does make it out alive, while the plane on the other side crashes to the ground. So a big advantage now for the blue side, and you should capitalize on that and advance quickly. Because if your opponent loses 4 infantry units, that's often the entire defense. Wait, the M1 tank? Did it get destroyed? Shit, I missed it. There was an M1 tank over here. With this one? Yeah, that's a M1 tank. Not sure what destroyed it. Oh, it was probably the plane. So that's obviously missing now for a push. Here's one over here. It's actually the more expensive variation, the M1A1, with the MP unit together with the mech rifles dragons. But there's a lot of units here. So that's what I mentioned. If you would have more infantry units and the second tank down here in the south, you would have enough forces maybe to push here. While now some losses on both sides in the south, and now the units over here have to fight against a bigger blob, including a T-80BB. And the M1A1 gets destroyed, actually. I was about to say it got damaged and stressed out, so it can't fight anymore. But can get repaired, but never mind, can't get repaired. And now the T-80 is just moving around freely, nothing here to really threaten it. And it just deals out damage and damage. While in the south, as mentioned, not enough units to really make a push. The quicker reinforcement road for the red side means that he can get more units now back, faster in this location. The tower might get destroyed by artillery. There's a shell incoming, and never mind. Never mind. Just stunned, heavily damaged. Supply truck is going actually for the ATGM Concourse that is out of rockets. It sounds like the supply truck wants to kill something, but I meant like to supply the ATGM. And yeah, it doesn't seem like there's much chance at the moment in the center. Not much you can do against T-80. Maybe a plane could come in now, or the cavalry could deal some damage. It has 24 pen on the Hellfire rockets that are very fast. Gets the 17 frontal armor, but also 1 additional hit point on this tank. And even if he moves forward in the center, he doesn't have a CV unit in this area. So you have the CP down in the south, but not pushing in the south, while sending units to the center where you don't have a CP. And 1100 points deficit with a +2 tick still going on, and 23 minutes left on this battlefield. Oh, I bet Wombat is pretty much stressed out now. Just as the infantry units are stressed out on the front of the battlefield, I think Wombat also is shaking and scared of his impending demise. He still has a chance. Maybe he can make a successful push and then get through, take the zones. Artillery now shooting at the scout. Missing once again. Those Acacias have a terrible accuracy, at least for PrincessEvelyn. I don't know in general, but at least in this match they have been shooting all around their target, but barely getting any kills, it feels like. I didn't count the kills, but probably you can count them on one hand. T-80BV now under fire by the M110A2. Let's see if that artillery is more accurate. But, well, the tank is moving, so it's probably too late. Firing now that the tank is outside of the circle. Actually getting some damage done, despite no unit being in the circle. T-80 getting stressed out, so at least something. And it's retreating backwards, but away from the circle, so still fine. And the M110A2 has only 3 shells per salvo, so not much happening if you can't get your hits. The Hawk actually doing a good job. And now I have something in my throat. I'm sorry. Hawk getting destroyed. Now the artillery finally hitting. Took them long enough. Eagler from the north shooting at the Hawk. Now the E-worms together with the Cavalry Warrior. And now the seaplane. A seaplane. Does it get any rockets off? Well, is there even... Well, the Tunguska has radio. A radar, not radio. So Tunguska gets destroyed. But the Tor was turned off and turned back on, so nice micro on the side of PrincessEvelyn. Did realize the danger of the seaplane. Didn't notice the Tunguska that was on the way, but at least the Tor was saved. You could have turned it back on once the plane went by, but well, there are other things going on in the battlefield, so you can't really keep your eyes glued to just one unit. Maybe now? Maybe now? Maybe now? Well, there are a bunch of Eaglers actually coming in now, so instead of relying on the radar-guided AA vehicles, now a lot of infantry, and the siege, bored of trying to find something, went all the way to the back of his opponent, and the Tunguska was actually brought below the seaplane, but it was a dangerous location. And the seaplane does make it out alive. Abrams stressed out but still healthy, so tries to push forward, but is immediately greeted by an ATGM. T-80 is still alive, also it did take some damage. The Concourse. T-80 stressed out by the rockets. But we have the ATGMs also. Almost. And the shell of the T-80 almost finishing the job. Now the T80 is heavily damaged though. So it's a close battle, but... Oh, those things surviving. But yeah, the advantage of the red side, even if the tank dies, there are more units around it, while the Abrams is pretty much alone. AGB bomber didn't find a target, apparently. It dropped 2 bombs. Maybe it did find something. And now the T80 is down. Well, it was on life support anyway. But the Weasel is still going around and might be able to find the Tunguska. I was checking if there are more T80s coming in now to make up for the loss. But more infantry units for the time being. The Tor is still turned off. Maybe PrincessEvelyn forgot about it. And the Tunguska is getting dangerously close to the seaplane. Or the seaplane dangerously close to the Tunguska, depending on how you look at it. 16 in the skies to protect the seaplane. Well, there are so many Eaglers on the battlefield that Wombat can't really make use of the free skies that he achieved with the seaplane. But now he has several tanks, he has the Bradley, he has Pivot. So maybe together with the helicopters he can make a push into the zone now. We had 1,600 points now for PrincessEvelyn with a +2. And as I mentioned before, if the zone gets catch up by Wombat, it's just a stop of the tick, not a tick for his side. So he still has to capture this zone and a second zone, or takes the zone in the south. Now the Tunguska got destroyed by the seed. A bit unfortunate that the Eaglers aren't in a position to shoot at the seed that's just going circles in the red side. But it feels a bit like Wombat is running out of ideas and isn't really playing aggressive enough. Like, this is a situation when you're so far behind in points, you have to play aggressive and risky, because otherwise you're just going to lose by the clock. So he has to do something. He can't just build up while his opponent is pretty close to winning. And it might be a sign that he doesn't know how or where to attack, or doesn't trust that his units can do it. Artillery dealing some damage again, might be able to take out the Toto, further weakening the blue forces. So far not hitting as previously. Okay, these Acacias don't have that many kills. And yeah, I'm not sure what will happen. Well, I guess actually now a push to the northern zone in the center. The helicopters got hit but not destroyed so far. F-16 now coming in to finally deal with them, but Eaglers able to damage the F-16, so that has to go back. The Razvedka Zaperi don't have an anti-tank rocket launcher, so they have to fall back. Second F-16 destroys a second helicopter, but also has to retreat afterwards. Ewart tries to go for the MUD-CP, I imagine, or at least get the scouting. But that's a nice flank attack to at least get something. A bit too late, maybe. T-80 BVK leader tank now coming in. And it feels like the blue side is now pretty light in the south, and that the red side could push through here. At least the danger exists. So it's interesting to see now, will the blue forces push toward the north, or will they go for the zone in the south? Like in southern from this location, it's the center. But I think we have the issue again of spreading out your units. We have a tank here, some IFVs, Bradleys over here, while the units fighting over here are less in numbers as a result. So it's not a big blob, but spread out units going different location. One Abrams is facing towards the south, one is going for the north. It's moving in by itself without infantry support, no helicopter, no scout. Oh, that's a bit... I mean, I said before, it's time to be a bit aggressive and take risks, so maybe that's exactly the mindset. Artillery keeps missing. I'm looking forward to the kill feed, where we can see how many kills the Acacias actually got. I feel like it wasn't that many. I've been shooting the entire time, just dealing damage without killing anything. Well, they killed a few units, of course, but not as many as they could have killed with some more accuracy. Well, the M110 tries to take out the units over here in the south that are pushing forward actually now. I'm not sure what the plan behind this push is, but it doesn't get punished immediately, so we might as well. But now the units in the north for Wombat are pretty much on hold. The CV died, actually. I was checking where it is, if it moved forward or to the south, but it was destroyed, actually. I think the scout might have gotten it, depending where it moved. So we now have the issue of a lack of CV on the battlefield. Is the new one getting bought? No. We have 12 minutes left. No CV on the battlefield. Units getting shot at from the side. But they're able to turn around in time. But you know, I have basically a concave of units in the backline of his opponent, getting shot at from multiple sides. So the attempt of encircling the red forces turned into getting side shots yourself. The 80 plane tried to get the Abrams, but they were destroyed before the plane could achieve that goal. And with that, actually, PrincessEvelyn, with a kill ratio of 0.77, actually gets the victory by having a complete control over the point tick for almost the entire game. And with that, is able to make it into the playoffs. So congratulations to PrincessEvelyn. And if you check the kill feed, Acacia, one of them got just a Tau2. Well, I guess he killed the entire card of Eyehawks. So the AA was destroyed very effectively, but nothing else. The Concourse did some damage. The T80 did quite well, not just with kills, but staying alive and dealing a lot of damage in the center. And whoa, the Tau2 got almost an entire page of kills. Even some infantry units that were still inside the vehicles. Maybe if I see 3-4 infantry units destroyed with transport, I feel like that was the issue of not unloading your infantry units or trying to unload them too far forward again. So that would be the one thing you can take as a learning from this matchup, that you should unload your units further back from the front line, or well, remember to use the unload command when deploying your units so that you don't have to micro them yourself. You can also see a lot of kills by the LGB bomber. I didn't realize it got that many units killed. We saw that one kill with 4 units in one building, or at least in one area, but got a bunch of other kills, including the T80BV later. So that was quite an important unit, even though in the end he still lost the matchup, so it was in vain, but he did quite a good job, so you can remember that for next time. M1A1 Abrams also got some kills, but not able to take victory that way. So yeah, that was the final group stage game. The next time we'll see each other will be playoff stage, and I don't have the image in front of me right now, but I will blend in the image for the groups, for the group stage of the playoffs in Division 4, so that we can see the next matchups. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!